Welcome to this special review of the 2015 general elections at the Presidency and National Assembly level. It just concluded over the weekend, and I'm Otoba Sebaseko anchoring this session. We meet to discuss the fallout from this election, the announcement of the result, and the interesting developments is Barrister Liborous Oshoma, a notable socio-political commentator in Nigeria.
Thank you, it's a pleasure. I've always been with you.
Yeah, you could just share a bit of how you view the election process. I mean, how was it, particularly at the presidential level?
Yeah, it was for me, it was an election that a lot of people went into with emotions high. You know, since 1999, for the first time, we're having a robust opposition. An opposition that was ready to look at the party in government eyeball to eyeball, you know, and match them word for word, you know. Even though they couldn't match them money for money, but they had the support of the Nigerian people. And for me, that's what matters. And that is why a lot of people should also, in going into politics, the first thing you should look at is, you know, how do I win the confidence and support of the people? And so once you have that going for you, no matter the kind of money available to your opponent, money cannot queue behind your opponent. Money can vote for your opponent. It is the people that will vote. And so emotions were very high, and then the politicians also didn't help matters. The campaigns were just too emotional, a lot of insults, even when you know, people felt that it should be more of issues. And that was what led to the first peace pact that was signed that collapsed, and another one was signed also to show that truly the first one didn't work. But at the end of the day now, a winner has emerged, in the person of Alhaji Muhammadu Buhari. I prefer to call him Alhaji Muhammadu Buhari because you see, we still have this hangover of military mentality.
Yes.
And so let's not begin to encourage this general
narrative,
you know, so it's a Democrat now. Yeah. And so it should be addressed as one. Alhaji Muhammadu Buhari has emerged as the president-elect. And the turning point, the anticlimax of the whole process was the president, Dr. Azikiwe Bello Jonathan, coming out to congratulate the winner and reiterating his position that no Nigerian, nobody should be sacrificed for anybody's ambition, and no blood is worth the ambition of any politician. And that, you know, is highly commendable. And also that body language, that speech also had changed the body language of his party.
Interestingly, even as I monitored it earlier, I was off the morning, their agents made a statement about
Major
Bello Fadile.
Fadile.
Now let's look at the evolving political culture in Nigeria. What's your assessment in terms of the electionary process? How, particularly, I watched your analysis on our platform, the issue of when that shift from the card reader call to the manual incidents form, and generally the logistics and how INEC handled it. How would you assess it?
Basically, INEC blew the opportunity, you know, in terms of logistics, to write their name in gold in the span of time. A lot of people would have been happy with that. INEC also has scored a first marvelously well. But the moment we saw the collapse of the card reader, a massive collapse of the card reader, you know, and then reverting back to manual form, it really didn't encourage some of us, because we had felt that this is novel, this is great, and then we should actually see the process through, given a margin of 10%, 20%, at most 30% error. But the situation where you have more than 50% error, it's not encouraging. And I think INEC should go back doing its homework very, very well, because reverting back to manual, it gives also a lot of room for manipulation that you are trying to forestall, that you are trying to stop, you know. And so, which is why I thought the fire brigade approach INEC used shouldn't have, you know, if they had prepared well, they wouldn't have, you know, just jumped into that process in the last phase. It's a process that they had been campaigning for more than 2 years now. One would have expected that that process would have been thought through. And now also, you see the people are happy, they are excited because largely the result reflected the wishes and the general mood of the people in the land. And then also that's why everybody is also commending INEC, that with the transparent way these results were shown at the national level. And so what we now basically need to be doing is that, like the president said, we had taken the electoral process to a level. Now we need to take it beyond this level. We want to see a situation where you don't need to wait for INEC to be able to monitor the trend, legitimately. We want to see a situation like it's done in America, the way the votes are swinging, And so with that, nobody will need to snag ballot box, nobody will need to stuff ballot boxes, and everybody can follow the process through. But ultimately, that is when the people will truly say the power resides with them. And so that's when the politician will know that on the day of reckoning, because the power resides with the people, they will always come back to the people. And so when you don't perform, when you don't do well, the people will always reject you at the poll. But as it is now, it's still 50-50. But it's all work in progress.
Yeah. Now, prior to the elections, President Obama, in his video message, I don't know if you watched it, it was quite unusual, said that the task of keeping Nigeria united is an adult task. It's a task that must remain. And here is a task for Gen Muhammadu Buhari. Considering the voting patterns, South, Southeast voted massively for President Jonathan.
Basically, it worried me also when I saw the voting pattern. That's why we need to strengthen the electoral process. And that is why, even though the president had conceded defeat, in assessing, we need to, on a sober reflection, sit down and assess the entire procedure and find out what went wrong, where did we get it right? Because if you look at, up north, Buhari had never lost election in those states. And then, majorly now, almost the entire state in the north. And then if you look at down south and south and southeast, it was, almost everything there went to President Goodluck Jonathan. I want to see a Nigeria where, irrespective of tribe, you should be able to, garner votes. It should be a battle, electoral battle between you and your opponent, like what we saw in Lagos, like what we saw in Edo, like what we saw in Benue.
Yeah.
We want to see, competitions like that. Yeah. And it is only when you strengthen the electoral process that you would be able to get that. You saw what happened in Port Harcourt. Yeah. A lot of people said they didn't vote, some said they voted, but at the end of the day, you saw the results, that
amazing figure.
And so that's why we need to also, that's now it is time to begin to see how we can strengthen that process, so that at the end of the day, some of these persons in those regions, their vote will be truly reflected, because I will not say that this process, that there are no irregularities from both parties. I can't sit down here to tell you that, because the moment we reverted to manuals, some persons will want to manipulate the process, But if we had allowed that, electronic process to run through, would have been difficult, to see some of the figures we are seeing also. Just like the kind of figures we saw coming from Kano and Katsina. The same figure we saw coming from Akwa Ibom and Rivers, And so you now begin to ask yourself, does that mean, even in Rivers State, where the governor is in opposition and is the director of the presidential campaign of the opposition, does that mean he does not even have followers? Because, you saw the campaigns in those places. Yeah. So basically, that's what I'm looking at, and I think that's where our electoral process needs to come in. And also massive education. We need to educate ourselves that first and foremost we are Nigerians, before we are exactly. But now we see ourselves from that our ethnic prison first before we see ourselves as Nigerians. So, but basically, like I always say, it's work in progress. And now there's a change of guard. For the first time in the history of this country, you have incumbent, losing an election and conceding also. There are two firsts. Yes, and so basically there are two firsts we have scored now, and that is why the international community was so interested in Nigeria. You have seen India on the track of greatness, on the path of progress. Also, if you look at Africa in the black race, Nigeria has been a big brother with the kind of population we have. If Nigeria, implodes, the multiplying effect will be too much for the world to contend. And so there need to be another India. If you have America, you have Great Britain, there need to be another India. And Nigeria is the destination. Relatively, we have peace here. And God has been so fantastic. God has been wonderful in terms of, resources. And so you need to build a destination where also the superpowers of this world will hear a sigh of relief and say, yes, there's another destination in Africa. And so the pressure, on them will not be too much. And now is the time for us to begin to, build that new India in Africa.
Now, as we round up, just a quick one, what should be the core focus of the Buhari incoming government?
Yes, a lot of promises have been made. And so, for me, this is not the time to want to hurriedly, satisfy everybody. This is the time, first and foremost, to take stock. You're just coming in, you made a lot of promises on assumptions. Because if you remember, Obasanjo once promised that power failure will be a thing of the past. He voted into office, 200 in office. And he got there, he said, the problem with this enormous. We don't want to hear those excuses. Take stock for your record. And after taking stock, then you now begin to set up blueprints on what to do, how to plug some loopholes, and then also how to rejig some sectors. And then you need to have a very strong team, a very capable team, a dedicated and committed team, and not people that want to benefit from the victory of election. And then I don't believe in this government of national unity. Let's all have all-inclusive. What's all-inclusive? All-inclusive is driving the state towards a one-party state. And you can't do that. You are given a mandate on the basis of your manifestos. And so people want to see how you can actualize those manifestos, and not for you to begin to bring everybody, what Yoruba people call Bobuero, bring everybody on board, and let's see how we can. What you basically will be doing is you are bringing people that don't have the same vision, that do not have the same manifestos with you, all in the name of inclusiveness. Now we have passed that level. Obasanjo tried it in 1999, and it drove us to one-party state. And now that we are no more in that state, for the first time, we have been able to have, two strong parties. Let the opposition, let the party that is going into opposition, they were the party in power, let them go back, continue to mirror the society, continue to act as a voice to the people, because the strong opposition that becomes a voice of the people. The way the APC gave you, a strong fight when you were government in power. I'm not saying you should be sheepishly or slavishly, but you should criticize constructively, mirror the government, and then with that, people began then create alternative. So that's the best way to go about it. And so for me, for the Buhari administration also conclusively, it should be about the economy. It shouldn't be about, we met empty treasury. Because when you say you met empty treasury, basically what you're telling the world is I don't have the credibility to assess loan, because now, whether they like it or not, they will need loans from the international community. So even if you meet empty treasury, there's a way of putting the message forward. Yes, it is bad, but we're trying to generate, revenue from other sources and plug loopholes, through fighting corruption and rejig the economy. With that, people will know that you are serious, because investors that you are waiting for, they need to be assured of security of their fund, apart from security of their investment.
Thank you very much, Barrister Liborous Oshoma. Very incisive analysis looking at the 2015 general elections. And hopefully, in 2 weeks' time, we'll be having the gubernatorial elections, and we also will have a peaceful process, and we'll be able to have Barrister Oshoma again to assess that.
My pleasure.
So thank you for watching this special edition, and have a great day.